Welcome to episode 116 of A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I'm your host, Deddy. Joining me this week, a man who's doing this week's recap. So I better get my digs in right now. A man who I help by politely asking him to always stand with me so we both get hit together. A man who I assure I will bless with prayers, provided he jumps through the right hoops in the correct order. And a man who I saved from an imp by weakening it when I pulled my +3, even though Gaz told me not to worry about him. But no, friends don't leave friends behind. They help by taking out whatever is threatening their friends. My good friend, Gaz, you're welcome.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
You're introducing me. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just going over my head. There's this term that I always get wrong, the definition. You know how people mess up the term, like they go, oh, that's ironic, but it's not really ironic. It's like Alanis Morissette ironic, where it's just annoying, right? There's this term called gaslighting that I always mix up the definition of, but I feel like this is a good example of.
How?
Well, I won't go into the definition, but yeah.
There's no right and wrong with helping and all of that kind of stuff. It's subjective. You didn't see it so much as helping. I thought it was helping. And who's right or who's wrong? As long as the thought is there. You know, have you heard the expression, it's the thought that counts? The thought was there. And that should be what counts, right? That's what a good support does.
Yeah. And then afterwards telling me that you were doing the right thing and that I loved it the whole time, right? That's... Yeah. So
100%.
No, it was a fun time, and I do have a few words. Like it won't go on and on. So I've just put together a
what are you trying to say?
pretty vanilla, recap to try to, which was hard because I usually don't remember any of the scenario until we start talking about it, and so I was watching the playthrough and having to make notes because even when we came to record this, I was just like. I can't remember what's going on. So
it's not easy.
Lucky I wrote it down. It's not.
Especially trying to make it somewhat entertaining as well at the same time instead of just dryly explaining kind of what we did and all of that. Otherwise, I mean, you may as well watch the video. I may as well do a TLDR in dot points in the show in the notes, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I did upload the playthrough to AI and just say, hey, can you give me about 500 words, tags like roast Eddie a little bit.
Make it sarcastic, make it dry. Yeah, no, drier. Drier.
Yeah. I want to be in the desert. Yeah, that's it. So, no, it's good fun. So, yeah, we're looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, nice. Well, I've got a little, fun thing on our agenda today, and it's not continuing the conditions, because I was going to do that. And then I was like, I could do something fun. So I picked fun.
Okay. Fun. All right. Cool.
So on today's episode, after the dirt sheet, we're going to be covering scenario 22, Imp Temple, which is the one we did recently, which was incredibly fun. Well, it was very memorable, I should say. And the playthrough, if you haven't seen it yet, I think it was one of my most fun to edit and put together. So hopefully we can continue that trend of fun playthroughs. With nothing wrong happening.
Yeah, that's it. 2 years in, we're like, no more fun.
We'll do our amDirt Diaries with anything new. A couple of things that I want to mention around some of the classes that we've played. And then we're going to have a little squiz through the 2.0 Gloomhaven, 2nd edition rulebook.
Hey, rules. Yes. Fun. Talk about fun.
Yeah.
You know how to bring the fun.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I didn't think conditions would be fun, so I thought I found this rule book we could read.
Well, I figured, I was going to send it to you and make you take it home. But I was like, then you won't read it anyway. You would just tell me you did. And then, if we do a test or something.
No, I don't lie about things that I haven't done. I'm very forward in saying that I haven't read it. I read most of the Frosthaven one. I don't think I've ever read the Gloomhaven one.
Yeah, well, I figured because we're always getting told that we're playing things wrong, we can have a literal fast power read where we read maybe 5 things of the things that we want to read, not reading the whole card, but of the book. Of interesting sections, and then don't read the rest, and we can apply that to our campaign when we start.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not our fault. There's so many rules, right?
Why do I have to make these books so big?
Yeah, if they had less rules, I wouldn't probably wouldn't be more inclined to read it, but I'd probably get less wrong, right?
Hmm.
Just pure numbers. So
Do you think rulebooks
yeah.
should come in different editions? Like you've got the really anally retentive, like thick ass rulebook. You've got the really fast one. You got for the one for someone with ADHD. You got one that does the whole thing just in pictures. You've got things like that, so that everyone who learns in different ways can find the right way to learn for them.
Yeah, they should make like a 3 hour Peter Jackson epic Lord of the Rings style movie about the rules. I'd totally watch that, and I'd probably remember most of it as well.
That you're onto something there. Okay,
Mm.
Cephalophair,
Yeah,
they're onto it.
on to that next.
So, dirt sheet.
Dirt sheet.
If you've been under a rock, I got the Gloomhaven second edition 2.0 has arrived, and I did an unboxing, and that went onto our channel. If you're currently watching this on YouTube, you would have seen it probably. If not, then how did you watch this podcast and not see the unboxing? That's insane. And
Unless you deliberately skipped it,
that's true. Oh yeah, that's a good
which is
point.
weird.
Well, it's not like I was
Unless
going
you
through
worry about spoilers.
yeah,
But I mean,
well,
it's
I was worried about
unboxing.
it. See, I didn't plan it because obviously I opened it straight out of the cardboard box. And I'm like, how much of this, like while I was doing it, I was like, shit, how much of this am I supposed to reveal? And am I going to be
Yeah.
worried about, all this kind of stuff? And I was like, I don't know. So that's why I wasn't thoroughly in detail of look at this. Oh, look at the campaign sheet. Oh, look at all of these kind of things. Because I was like, I might upset some people. I don't really know what I can and can't do here.
Yeah. I mean, you opened up the things that anyone who's going to play the game is going to open up, right? Like, it's not like people are like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I know there's a map, right? Or what do you mean there's monsters?
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's ultimately what I was worried about. Is like when you see the map, I was like there'll be like a little Frosthaven section in the top right hand corner, and with a couple of scenarios. It's like, that's wait, people didn't know that, and that doesn't exist, mind you. I didn't have a really thorough look. It might, so don't call me out on that. I'm not 100% sure.
You're picking up spoilers now. That might be true.
And then obviously the sequel to This Haven is on the map as well. And here you go. There you go. I'll just create a whole bunch of controversy.
Where does that sit actually? Like, if you make up spoilers, but you don't tell people they're made up, are they spoilers? Or are they just lies?
That would just be lies, right?
Yeah.
But what if they're actually real? Like you didn't realize they're real, and then they're actually spoilers.
Are they? Is it a spoiler if you don't know that it's true?
Well, it's still technically a spoiler, but an unintended. Like you didn't intend to spoil it. So,
Yeah,
but you still technically did. It's just based on RNG or something.
Yeah, RNG. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's layers to this. We'll start up another podcast.
No, we'll cover this now. Let's scrap the rest of the agenda.
How many layers do we go with this? So, when is a spoiler not a spoiler?
How long do you have? We've established that we can definitely just fill a time slot with just nothing.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, speaking of people not tuning in, let's move on.
Yes, okay. Let's head over to scenario 22. Now, the last time we were in scenario 22, we got booked, which was a Frosthaven scenario 22 by the eels and all that. But this is a different 22. So we will quickly do our events. Now, the city event was, I'm not even really going to bother. It was the crappy one. Do you remember what it was? Because this is over a week ago. We're late, by the way. I don't know if anyone's aware of that. We're late with this episode.
Don't tell people that. They'll just think they're late.
Gaz, see, you know that irony thing, Alanis Morissette and gaslighting? Is that?
I don't know how it's
Just gaslight our audience?
Oh yeah, true. If we've really tried to convince them that this is actually in the past, right? Like that they had just forgotten to listen to it.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Something about glass houses and stones.
That's it. Event. No, I don't. We probably went into a market and then bought something.
Very close. There was definitely a market, and it was like, do you want to spend the day shopping or do you want to spend the day selling your old merchandise? And then it was kind of like, each player can purchase something, which we purchased a cure potion.
Yep, that's right. Oh yeah, we
had a 10 gold discount, which then gave us a cure potion for 0, which we then sold back immediately to the guy who gave it to us for a 5 gold profit.
For a 5 gold profit. Yep, that's it.
And then, yeah, the other option was everyone can just sell one item to the shop and gain 10 gold more.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that was the other option.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. That's cool.
I feel like that's also City Event 30. I actually can't remember the
Hmm.
setup for Crimson Scales because Frosthaven, it was 1 to 20 was the starter decks for all the events. I don't know if Crimson Scales is 1 to 30 and if Gloomhaven's in a similar boat. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But this feels like a very generic kind of one you would expect in the first 5 or 10 events that you do.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, that's the thing is that like you don't get through all those, right? Because they get shuffled, and then you add new ones in, then you get sidetracked, and you do all this extra shit. So,
Yeah.
look, I don't mind that as an event, as a generic event, because it didn't do anything. It was kind of like a little bit of a bonus. Like, didn't matter which way you went, right? You were going to get something out of it, or you potentially could. And it didn't flip a coin into good or bad, right? Like, if one of the options was cool, you get a discount. The other one was like lose an item,
Ooh.
right? But you don't get any money. Then that would suck, right? And you'd be like, oh, I didn't want to do
How
that.
about you replace the event with a giant demon comes into from Frosthaven to a silly little massive town and starts, abusing you and all that kind of stuff, right?
Definitely. If that was the case, then yeah, that we could replace every bad event with just that one event, right?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
It's like some
Rocks
cool.
up
It was
again.
anyway. So yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of that. This one though, the second one. Do you remember the second one?
Was this the one where there was like the Savas were fighting and they were dead and there were like some void like rocks and the question was like, do you want to just leave or do you want to lick the void rocks?
That was the previous week. We've already had this chat.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't remember what it
Yeah,
is then.
that's fine. So we were, not far from the city. We actually found we walked past a farm, and a farmer dude, an old farmer dude, came to us with a frenzy. He was weathered and all of that, and he was pulling at his hair and furiously scratching his arms between frantic, pained cries. And he notices you and then quickens his pace. And I'm intentionally dragging this event out a little bit because it's actually quite interesting. So he says, "Do you have to help?" And he implores us as he approaches, eyes wide with terror. I'm being haunted. Okay. There's a spirit trying to steal its soul. So we didn't see anything. All right, we only see him. So a bit crazy, right? And option A was try to help him with his ghost problem. And you were like Ghostbusters. And
Because you're a Ghostbuster.
yes. And option B was keep your distance. The man is clearly too mad to be trusted, right? So we found there was a whole bunch of symbols tied into the first response of this, and you were one of them, 3 eyes. But there's also, Mind Thief and Music Note and a whole bunch of other ones, right? And those characters can basically get what is it? Dispel the spirit that doesn't exist, and then he gives
Yep.
you coins and a rare flower that his his dead wife had, which you ended up taking. Otherwise, you just get the item. You don't get the $10.
Oh, so you still get the potion.
You still get the potion.
Okay.
But if you ignore him, right, you pass by quickly. You aren't being paid to deal with this man's demons, literal or metaphorical. It's not until his renewed shrieks are out of earshot that you relax. Shuffle Road Event 64 into the top 3 cards of the deck.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I want to know what Road Event 64 is
Oh,
now.
I already have it right here.
Oh, nice. Nice. Cool.
So that's what I mean. This took a turn. So
Yeah.
Road
We
Event
didn't do
64.
this, by the way. Like,
No.
so just to be clear, we were like, we're Ghostbusters. We went in there and we caught him.
Yeah, we got our
And
$10
then
and we gave you the potion. It was all done.
we came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
But if we didn't, a little bit later, like, 3 cards with him, on a road near Gloomhaven, you crest a gentle hill and spy a familiar farmhouse. Thankfully, the mad farmer from before seems to have taken a break from his ranting. As you approach, the only figure you see is a crude, new scarecrow in the desiccated field, perhaps built to ward off his supposed evil spirit. Stifling laughter, lest you summon the mad human, you pass the gate leading to his home without incident. But as you draw close enough to inspect the scarecrow in detail, the mockery on your lips dies. The farmer's dead eyes gaze plaintively from under a worn straw hat, and crusted blood covers its all too human hands. Option A. This road is too well traveled to leave such a dangerous spirit nearby. Hunt it down. Option B, burn it all to ashes. You have no interest in seeing or becoming more scarecrows.
Okay. I guess if we didn't know that we were Ghostbusters the first time, I would say we're Ghostbusters. We got to go kill the ghost.
Of
But
course.
yeah, what happens?
So if we, well, basically we dispel the spirit if we're any of those classes, just like before. So it's kind of like, no, you did it wrong last time. You're doing it right this time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Gain one collective. Dead wife potion.
Another one.
Well, we didn't get the last one, right? Because
Oh, because we didn't do it. I thought you said we got it anyway.
we got it anyway if we didn't have your class, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
okay. This only gets shuffled back in if we were just like, nah, you're mad. See you later. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Okay. Cool.
Otherwise, if we didn't have one of those classes, we'd start with damage. But if we didn't want to dispel it and we wanted to burn the place to the ground, we lose a rep, and then we gain the the potion.
Oh, so we get the potion regardless. So there's no way we
Every
can't
outcome
leave.
leads to the potion.
I feel like this is some kind of cursed monkey paw type potion, right? Like it's one of those things that it's been like the One Ring. It doesn't matter what happens, it always survives, and it brings terror and destruction with it everywhere it goes.
Just knowing that, though, does that kill the rarity and the specialness of the potion?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it means that the 10 gold we got was the real prize, right?
Yes.
But that's really cool. I kind of like how that went. And I think we've talked a little bit about events being seeded into the deck, right? Like top three type thing. Which I guess Frosthaven, they just use the calendar system, which again we've applauded for doing exactly that. It's like it goes in, it's going to come up. You forget what the number means. You're like, "Oh, okay, that thing's coming. That's cool." And it can't not, right? Unless, yeah. So,
And
yeah, cool. That's cool.
and I love the some of the writing is quite dark. Like it really stands out when some of them they're quite macabre, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, they went there. They could have just said, you find the burned corpse of the guy, that kind of stuff. And it's pretty detailed for a tiny card with not much room to write anything.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that's cool.
All right, scenario 22, Imp Temple. So our reward for helping Athen was coordinates to an Imp Temple. Where provided we survive, we can loot the crap there, provided it's worth anything. So this has got to be one of the shittest rewards on paper, right? Considering everything we've done so far, he's like, here you go. There's your rewards over there, but I haven't done much about it in terms of clearing it out or anything like that. But, for some reason, even though no one's claimed it, and I can't claim it, it's yours if you clear it. Doesn't that feel a bit shit?
Yep.
It's like fetching your own dinner. So we head to the temple, which looks temple-y, and we notice a group of imps. And then it finally dawned on me that the imp temple, it sat unowned on templemarket.com for decades because all of Gloomhaven's inhabitants couldn't move into it due to being the wrong species. They're not imps because it's called Imp Temple. And then one day a family of imps, they saw the ad, and the father imp put a deposit on it and moved his overjoyed family into it. And they lived happily ever after right up until about now.
Well, it's really funny actually because you're like segueing perfectly into my recap.
Really?
Yep.
But I was gonna read the rules. I mean, I'll read this. I'll read the
Fine, you can read the rules.
Okay.
You can read the rules, but like I'm just saying, like
Holy
you've
crap.
kind of signposted towards my recap. So yeah,
This show couldn't be any less planned.
we couldn't accidentally be in sync anymore, right? Yeah.
All right, so this scenario is complete when 16 imps are dead. All right, that was characters times 4. Not 14, guys. 16. At the end of that round, read a thing. So the map/house is a modest 6-bedroom house with a large entranceway which doubles up as living room. Doors separate the rest of the house, and we're greeted by 4 forest imps, 4 black imps, and their auntie Harrower, who popped in to drop in some freshly baked goodies for the little ones. There are no special rules. How did it go?
All right. Well, I wrote a couple of notes. As everyone is aware, Deddy usually does the recap. He's offered that to me this time, and I thought I would give it a crack. So,
Yeah, well, one of the main reasons
okay.
is because
You can't be bothered.
No, you and the other boys, you all say that it's a platform for me to say stuff that no one can respond to. Therefore, no one can ever get me back for it, and they just have to sit there and listen. So, in a way, that's I'm not in control of that now.
No, that's true. This is my right of reply now, right? Like
Yeah.
I get 5 scenarios worth of just response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all we have time for today.
So previously in Crimson Scales, going back 5 weeks.
Oh my god.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I wouldn't do that. That's all right. So let's go. After finishing our last quest, Deddy's boss, the almighty great leader of the Great Oak, told us about some imps which were living in a rental property that he owned. Apparently, they've overstayed their welcome, and he wants us to evict them. And for those on audio, I'm doing air quotes.
Wow.
Being a loyal servant of the Great Oak, Deddy volunteered to oversee this mission in order to gain more of the Great Oak's favor and score some brownie points with his boss. As there was also apparently treasure there, or his boss said we could just keep whatever we find, we agreed to escort Deddy on his quest for the Great Oak's favor. Coming into the property, known as the Imp Temple, now, it was pretty trashed. The imps clearly have not looked after the joint. There was rubble, there was vines, there was holes everywhere. The imps were definitely not getting their bond back for this rental. Taking the instruction of eviction, again, the air quotes, to mean genocide, we decided that 16 was the right amount of murder to make a clear point that they needed to leave. Entering into the dwelling, we were confronted with 8 imps and their harrower mate, who apparently was their auntie. Clearly, we had interrupted some kind of post-party recovery session because they were just lying around, just absolutely shit-faced. Responding to this intrusion, the imps went into full preservation mode while they woke up and shook off the haze of last night's binge. They did not do much at all other than just like, whoa, what's going on? Stay away from me, right? This meant that the battle was slow to start with, right? And our party made preparations because we're usually pretty slow to start as well. But we did slowly progress forward and make some progress. Except for one person, Deddy, who dove into the front line to maximize his glory and prove his dedication to the Great Oak, only to quickly find himself surrounded, call for help, and make it out like he was a weak little priest that needed saving. I believe his exact words were, "Help, help, I'm not fine. I'm not fine." And I reckon you can find that on the playthrough if you go back and listen. Anyway, at this point, it was basically, it came an escort the priest quest. Not too dissimilar to Frosthaven Scenario 2. And we waited forward to save Deddy from the scary black imps and the menacing forest imps, who didn't even know why we were there. Our new Ice and Fire friend Mark proceeded to show us that he was a true master of these elements, chilling and wounding all that opposed him, including himself from time to time. Wrapping up the first room with little difficulty, Deddy reminded us that we need to keep count on how many imps we killed. While his boss wanted to evict the imps, he doesn't support mass genocide. Discussing this and remembering we agreed 16 was a sensible amount of murder, we continued on. Needing to get a move on, Phil revealed that his real purpose coming all this way was actually to find his harrower mate, who'd been shacking up with the imps and had been gone a bit wild. So his mum was like, "Hey, can you go find Dave the harrower? Because he really needs to come home." Unfortunately for Phil, they all looked the same. And so he really needed to check them up close and shake them and say, "Are you Dave?" Right? Just to determine if it was his mate or just another harrower. So he decided that the best way that he could do this was to run around all the rooms and open up doors randomly, just peeking in for a minute to check on the harrower before running away from that harrower and going to check another room, right? Just busted into a room disturbed, like, "Dave? Is that Dave?" And when they're like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry," and just run off. So while Phil was looking for his mate, running around frantically, we decided to get on with the murder and started exploring the west wing of the temple. Revealing more imps and harrowers, Deddy again fell into the help me, I'm a weak little priest routine. Before going invisible and making that everybody else's problem. And we started discussing how we could help Daddy. He started speaking gibberish, just spouting useless information and having the inability to answer basic questions like, "Are you going quickly?" Clearly, he touched with the spirit of the great oak, and he was now channeling, right? Like he was speaking in tongues, and it had consumed his mind with all the branchy goodness of the great oak. So he was in like just pure great oak form. Anyway, the fighting continues from the east wing as we heard more cursing as Phil found another harrower who was not his mate, right? At this point, he decided to give up and just to join the murder of the imps. He blasted a few of them before getting into a manly duel with the solitary black imp that he just sat next to for, I don't know, like 10 minutes. Just like, I don't know, swapping war stories. Or maybe they were having a drink or something. Mark continued to sit in the corner, furiously switching between cutting himself, chilling himself, and healing himself all at the same time, right? Just to, I think, just show off at some point, right? But unfortunately, while he does seem to be a master of these elements and can summon them on will, Sai does keep leaving his inner fridge and turning it up to 11 because he found himself hindered slightly and a little bit too cold. He had to defrost a bit. So anyway, moving into the last room, we found number 15 imp and number 16 imp waiting to be murdered. Right. Then Deddy started chanting, a great glow emanating around him as he unleashed what was surely a beneficial magic, a boon to his allies. Miraculously, one imp, which was about to die, about to get whacked by Mark, and the harrower, which was a safe distance away from everybody, switched places, putting the harrower in swinging distance to Mark, so Mark could get clobbered by it. And it was at this point we realized that Deddy was the traitor. Pushing past this annoying hurdle, Mark and myself focused on the last imp so we could complete our task and get out of here. Just as I was about to land the final blow and clean up the mess of the room, our hero Deddy sailed in for one last hit. And what a hit. Claiming that he was weakened and I can't kill the imp. I can't kill the imp. Don't worry about it. It's fine. A flourishing chorus erupted from his lips and left scorch marks where the imps once stood. So much for a weak little priest. The end.
Very, very good. Yeah, I can't disagree with most of that. It was fairly accurate. Definitely weak. And then surprise motherfucker. To with the +3 and all that. But there was definitely, look, it was very entertaining, and I definitely, everything that was happening, it wasn't like I was trying to make it happen that way. It was like, even the bit where I said I can't kill that, I was looking at you dead serious. And as I'm editing it, I can see it in my face. And you're like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, no, I can't get that. I can't. And I think that's what I added to it. It's just the +3
Yeah,
comes
I think
out.
it was the +3, and you were genuine. You're like, oh, I forgot I had those.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about how we felt about this particular scenario of, what did you say? Imp, genocide, eviction.
Imp eviction.
Imp eviction. The first talking point I'm going to have is the imp and imp situation that came up, and by that I mean, with the cards.
Imp on imp.
Imp on imp action that we witness. I think if you've seen the playthrough, you would have definitely seen that the moment of confusion where mobs that have the same monster ability deck usually aren't in the same scenario. And they can be. We've witnessed that. And I was having a look at the actual 2.0 rulebook, and it actually points this out. And it's like, they share, some of the mobs will share decks. So you've got like Algox Scout, and then you've got Bandit Scout and things like that. They will share the Scout deck. And this had completely been lost on us. So when we saw the imps at the very beginning pull their 5 initiative shield and heal themselves, but both of them did it, it was kind of like, wow, that's 8 standees doing absolutely nothing. We can't kill them, but that's 8. And then we were talking about how it was lining up, right? That everything they were doing, the other was doing as well. And our minds were kind of blown. Does that, because this is not something we experience very often, does that feel both good and bad? Because it felt like it was either going to be a horrendous round where they're targeting 2 or 3 and poisoning everything and all of that, or a shield and heal thing.
Yeah, I think it does. It just comes down to RNG. I mean, but it's a logistics thing, right? It just means if they wanted to do them separately, they have to give you another imp deck. So
True.
I don't know. I feel like with unlimited resources, like if it was on digital, then they probably don't, right? Because they don't need to.
Mm,
They can both pull from separate AMDs, monster ability decks. Sorry.
mm.
But I mean, if you wanted to keep it true to the rules and the way that the physical game works, then you would make them both use the same one. But I'm just saying, like the implementation, you could do it differently. So yeah, yeah, it is interesting.
It's
I don't
so
know. I can't
rare.
remember. Yeah, I can't remember it at all happening in um, Frosthaven. I'm sure someone will tell me there's a scenario we did that there are two types of imps or something like that, but I can't remember the.
I can't either. Not off the top of my head, but I'm now thinking of like even scenario one, a town in flames. It's like you've got Algor's guards, and then
Mm.
there's the city guards, or but the city guards from memory don't do anything. They just stand there. They don't
Yeah.
actually use the deck. But that would be a situation where if they were doing something, they may use the guard deck, both of them. But then one's your ally. So obviously it's a separate thing. But yeah, I can't think of many instances where you're going to have two lots of archers. I mean, even the
Yeah.
Algok's archer, I don't think there's a second archer in Frosthaven.
Well, there's no because there's no bandits.
No.
No, and you got crabs and robots. So
Yeah. So yeah, I think this double up. I mean, we've been playing this series for such a long time that it took us by surprise. And yeah, I think Mark worked it out about halfway through the scenario. Sorry, three-quarters of the way through the scenario. That maybe it's because there's only one imp deck, and that's when it kind of
yeah.
dropped. But very
Well, anyone
interesting.
who's listening who knows how often this happens across
Yeah,
all of Havens, yeah, just yell at us. Tell us the answer
I'd also be
because I'd be
curious
curious to know.
on in any double ups, which like Bandit Guard and City Guard or something like that, right? Or Algox Guard or Inox Guard. In a situation like that, we're having two, but they're both enemies, similar to the imp situation we had right now. How bad is that, right? Having two lots of guards sharing the same deck, going at the same initiatives and doing the same things. Is there like a really horrendous combo?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to like it just amplifies the RNG, right?
Mm,
Like if the RNG is bad, then it's going to be really bad, and if it's like not, but I think the thing that made the first room potentially so bad was because there were so many of them. Like once we cleared the first room and we were only really fighting two, three, four at once,
mm,
it didn't really matter, right? Because they could have all been forest imps or all been black imps.
yeah.
But the fact there was eight in the first room meant that it was a bit different.
Mm,
But I guess it's interesting because they could have just made them all one of those imps, and then we wouldn't have even had that situation. The fact that they put two different types of imps in there because they're basically the same, right? Except that the innate poison and curse.
well, Black
So
Imps don't move though, and Black Imps have
but
disadvantage on being hit.
yeah, that's true. And the forest
Forest
imps
Imps
have
have
the shield.
shield.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, but
I know what you
yeah,
mean.
that's it. Yeah. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Talking point number two. Harrowers can officially fuck off.
They're back on the shit
I
list, like
think
as if we
so.
hate them. Yeah.
They're just so hard to kill. The retaliate sucks.
Yep.
When they pull the range retaliate, which stacks with the other retaliate, and they're retaliating for 5, it's kind of like, oh god, we can't even do what we were planning on doing to bring you down even slightly. But they've also got like I think one or two different ways that they can also heal. So that's around you not hitting them, and it's around that gives them an opportunity to heal back up. And one of them, I think, is a dark Shlong attack
Hmm.
that heals for the damage it does, or for the amount of targets it hits who suffers damage. And I think that's something that we experienced in Frosthaven actually. That exact move, which caused them to just be unkillable, and we
Yeah.
had that situation where I think we only killed two, and one of them was Phil's one that took forever for us to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, we just ended up ignoring them after a while. We killed the one in the first room, and then we whittled down another one eventually, I think, but we just left because it was doing us more damage hitting them.
Completely.
Yeah, look, they're scary. They're one of those monsters that I always find scary, and I've been surprised that in recent times we haven't been as scared of them. Like, as in, I don't know. They were one of those ones where I'm like, maybe I was just a little kid when I first fought Harrowers, and that's why I'm scared of them. Now I'm an adult, they're not. But then you have scenarios like this where you're like, oh no, actually, no, they are. They're really gross.
I wonder how much of it is because they're not part of the objective. So this time, like Phil left. He didn't help deal with them. Otherwise, he standardly would have stood back and helped deal with them. But he was kind of like, that's okay, I'll go. We're all hunting for our objectives, which meant there was no urgency that went into, if it was a kill all, we probably would have found it easier. Right?
Yeah, totally, right? Because we'd have to kill them, so you'd focus them down, you just cop your whack. Yeah, it does because it's like you are spending resources on killing stuff. So you're spending cards to do damage that could go into imps. You're also taking retaliate damage most of the time to not achieve your objective.
Yeah.
Right. It's a similar thing when you need to exit and there's unlimited summons and you go, well, we can kill a monster. But well, what's the point, right? Like unless it's in my way or it's doing something really bad, then it feels bad. But for that reason, I think they're the perfect monster to put in here they're just going to be there as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, because they are pretty dangerous, but not ridiculously dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, if they were night demons or something like that, then you'd be like, oh, this is rough. Or light demons? Is that what they're the ones with advantage?
Yes.
Yeah, like one of those two would have been really annoying because you'd have to kill it. Otherwise, it's going to tear you up.
Well, it's just come to me that the first time in recent memory that we had that horrible discussion about how we couldn't kill them and all that was Scenario 13, Frosthaven, Raven's Roost. And they weren't part of the objective either, right?
No, they were just in the way, and we were like...
So I think you're exactly right. When they're not part of the objective, it's like, do we have to kill them? Do we not? Well, maybe we'll put some in there if it's an AoE or whatever, but it's not the priority. Therefore, we find those experiences with Harrow as worse than if we were to just burst one down because, well, we need to kill everything, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So...
All right. What were your thoughts on Scenario 22?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun scenario. It's like a twist on kill all because it's not kill all, it's kill some, right? There is always a little bit of a lackluster ending on scenarios that have like do a thing and then it's done, right? Like kill a certain mob or loot a certain like tile or whatever it is. But I feel like the energy up until that point was fine, and then once we found the remaining ones, it was like, okay, cool. Well, now we've got to kill them, and then. But yeah, I think it was a well paced scenario. It kind of didn't overstay its welcome, and I like the rewards. So I kind of like the idea that there was lots of rooms and you didn't have to explore them all, right? And that there was treasure in those rooms. But I also don't like the idea that your amount of reward you're going to get from doing like a treasure scenario type thing was kind of tied to how many coins you could go pick up. Like I don't know, I'm torn because I think it's a really cool idea. And we could have spent more time collecting loot. And we probably should have, especially with there was some kind of bonus at the end, right? With depending how many coins we picked up.
Each coin was worth +2 and you got 2 XP.
Yeah, so we should have gone and picked them all up. But yeah. But overall, no, it was good. I like it.
Yeah, okay. I got
What about you?
vibes of, I don't know, a really old school like Warcraft 3 custom map from this.
Okay. So
like
random.
like a haunted house kind of deal. It felt like there's this house, right? And we have to kill all these imps, and that's the objectives. And you've got these harrowers running around trying to murder us, and we obviously don't want to deal with them. And I think what added to making this scenario really good for our group was the fact that we split up, the fact that Phil left, and that's if we were going around deathballing in one big group, you know, the size of the map added to that because we kind of had to then explore quickly instead of just going from room to room as one big group. And I think that chaotic aspect of it made it more enjoyable because it's like the left-hand side, you got what's happening to us and the three of us. And then meanwhile, over there, you got Phil dancing around this one harrower trying to kill this imp that just kept healing itself and shielding and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And then there was that bit where you and I was stuck with the harrower in the doorway and we couldn't get past it. Well, you could, but you couldn't leave me behind because I needed help. So,
Couldn't, yes.
And then,
I couldn't leave you behind because you kept whining.
And then the Phil Harrower came out of the bedroom going, hey, what did that guy say? Oh, there's those guys over there. And I'm just sitting there doing priesty stuff going, oh, Oh no, I can't get in the room. So I think I think from a thematic, and the weird thing is we're talking about the thematics like we're evicting imps, but the theme really came through with this.
Yeah, I mean, like it. Yeah, it is. It's loose enough that you can throw your own theme at it. But no, I agree. I agree. It does. It does have a. It was a good, fun scenario that was challenging in its own ways because imps can be annoying. It had harrowers, which are hard, and can also be annoying, and had some treasure. So yeah, I think all in all, it's a good. Uh, I don't know, just yeah,
Yeah,
fun scenario.
yeah. And I had an OP curious pendant in the treasure chest, so we've got two
Oh
of them now.
yeah,
Went straight to you.
that's it. So.
Busted item.
Hmm.
What happens with Ormy? Does he enjoy the eviction process?
I think that this is a bad one for him based on the fact that the RNG would get him at the start. Although we can pick the target, so maybe,
It's purely the Harrow aggro. I think if he latches onto one of them, he's dead.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, not the worst for him, but maybe not a great one. Honestly, anything that starts with 9 monsters in the first room is not going to be a high on the list
It's
for Ormy.
it's barely good for us.
No, it's not good for us because everybody does nothing in their first turn.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump on to some class discussions and any revelations that have been happening. And the diaries.
Hmm.
So this particular week, which was the second week of spiritual gains, the first one where I couldn't. What happened in the first one? Oh, that's right. It was over before anything happened. Right, and I had 3 tokens on my spiritual gains, which allows me to not lose a card when I long rest. So it's kind of like a
Yep.
burn early, and then I get to delay the rest of the game and have lots of stamina. This time I started doing it properly, and then because of our positioning next to a harrower, we were never in a position that I could safely long rest, and that's you and me both. So we were both there short resting, and I never really got to long rest to take advantage of the spiritual gains, which made it really useless, like unbelievable. It just horrendous. Because not only had I played it and committed to it, I then burnt cards to stack the tokens on it, which shortened my I don't know, stamina. And
Yep.
yep, a bad time was had. So I'm hoping
Bad times.
that third time's a charm, and the next time we do this, I find the middle ground. So that was the thing. Other than that, I'm enjoying though the. I mean, I'm not enjoying being a pain in the ass, which I feel like I definitely am, and I'm doing it like with my whining and all of that. I mean, I got low health and I'm flea bitten, and look, there's a lot of problems at the moment with what's happening in the world of the priests and the great oak. But I'm having a good time, and look, I'm being a slight nuisance, and I think that's great.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
No, in all honesty, it's probably been some of the most fun I've had. So I'm having a really good time on this character, and I
Okay.
like the fact that I think any character that you can add an element of roleplay to, and I'm not like fully role playing it, but I like leaning into the exaggeration of the situation, basically, like and saying I'm a shitty little helpless priest, etc., and then going invisible, and yeah, I think
When
it's great.
everyone comes over to save you, you go and viz, and then everyone gets booked. And you're like, oh, I can't do anything about that because I can't actually heal.
Yeah, pretty much. But
Yep,
no, that's
pretty
that's
much.
that's been good. It would appear that you on the three eyes are stringing together some really good turns. And something
Yeah.
I'm noticing about you playing it is that you aren't running into the problem that I thought you were going to run into with a class that was going to have a switchery. Am I in this role? Am I in range form? Am I in melee form? And getting stuck. Yeah, I haven't seen that at all.
No, no, I think yeah, it has been working out pretty well. There's an element of like by accident, but I think you've got enough options that you go, oh, I'm in blue form. What can I do? Okay, cool. I'll pick a card that does a blue thing. And there's not a lot of like I need to get into this because I need to do this one specific thing.
Mm,
Um, Off the top of my head, I know I've got a card where if I'm in green, then my attack gets pierce. Blue, there's a couple of heals that I get if I'm in blue. So I know that those are there, but like it's usually not that hard to play around. But at the end of the day, you can just do something else.
mm.
So yeah, yeah. I'm look, I'm really enjoying it so far. Uh, it feels like what I wanted the Geminate to be, right? It feels like something where I am playing it and I can try to plan ahead, and if I can plan ahead well enough, I can like optimize, like as in, you can kind of get I don't know, eke more or squeeze more kind of damage or efficiency out of it.
Mm.
But it doesn't have this massive like, oh, you didn't do your string of combos, well then you don't get to do anything, right? It's like the floor is a lot higher
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, most of the cards still do something.
Yeah, okay. It's an interesting point, and
Um,
it made me question whether or not I'm not going on a massive tangent about the Geminate, but the Geminate's other thing that's going for it, other than the switching restrictions and all of that, on top of all of that, is that most of its power comes from its burns, right? And you don't actually have a lot of cards that are impactful burns. So therefore, if you took that aspect away from the Geminate, and let's say you cut its deck down to 6 and 6 instead of 7 and 7, 5 and 5 seems a bit weird, but I mean that might still work. Would that then make it a bit more enjoyable if it was more still had the hoops and the swapping and all of that kind of stuff, but not as dependent on burns because you are a bit more burn adverse, which you don't have to deal with now.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. I think that you could rework that so that it was. And again, without going down the,
Mm.
let's talk about the
Yep.
Geminate
Yep.
thing. I think there was three things that it was the class was trying to do, and I think that that was too many hoops. This one here isn't doing any of that. Like it's going like, hey, juggle three different forms. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't think that you're massively restricted if you're not in the right one. So I'm finding there are turns where I'm like, ugh, I can't do this. But then there's also a kind of this mini puzzle of like, hey, I want to do this next turn. What do I have to do this turn?
Mm.
Right. And yeah, that's been pretty cool. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. How are you finding the item aspect of it, and being able to relive a little bit of something you did a long time ago with a different character from memory?
The refreshing of the items. Yeah, I haven't really gone into it much
Mm.
because I have been just resting. So I've got a AMD perk that when you short rest, you refresh one of your items. So one of your hand items. Sorry. So I haven't really needed to. Like I have a little bit, but I don't. I mean, I've got a poison dagger and a spear, and the spear is actually really good. I think Dwarf called it out being like one of the best items in the game. I think you had it on your Void
Vortex.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really, really handy, especially considering most of my attacks are melee.
Mm.
So being able to be like, I don't really care, like where I am.
But also, you've got cards
Um,
that get better when you use an item as well. There's a whole archetype around item usage.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
tied into it.
exactly. So, and it's funny because I didn't take one of those cards when I leveled up. Like
Oh,
the level 3 card, I think. There was one that if I use an item, it disarms them. But I just went with the other way, and actually have found more use in the other card I took, which has been good. But yeah, it's interesting. Like again, that's where I think that the overarching like, hey, this is the play style of swapping between these things, and it also has this kind of sub play of hand items because you could not play with that, and I think it would be fine.
mm,
Um, right.
that's good.
So yeah, I think it's a good, easy, fun way of doing a class because it kind of gives you these little like I don't know, it's like a sub spec. Hey, you can take a couple of cards that do this and invest in a few items, and you're probably going to get some good value out of it, or just don't and play a different way. And you kind of like, yeah, that's still fine.
So are you saying you've solved it, and now? So what are you
Oh,
struggling with? Where's the room for improvement?
um, I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
really
you solved
struggling
it.
with anything. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not feeling restricted.
That's
It
good.
doesn't feel like I think it doesn't feel like the drill where I'm forced into playing certain cards in certain ways because the difference between like you doing that and not doing that is ridiculous, right? Like something like the drill that was so combat. If you didn't do the cards in the right way, you just really didn't do anything. Okay, and then if you did do them in the right way, you were like, "Oh my god, I'm an unstoppable killing machine."
Mm.
Um, so I haven't found that. I found that like if I do them in the right order, I'm like, oh, that worked out really well. Or okay, I can do this cool thing. So I feel like Batman.
I can see that.
Because most of the time, when I've got a decent amount of cards in my hand, when you get down to like 4 cards, it becomes less. But I can look at a situation and go like the Harrowers. I'm like, cool, I'm just going to pull a range attack. I don't have any range attacks, but if I'm being Pink Ranger, I've got 2 cards that make my attacks ranged. So I can go like, cool, I can do that. So there's all of these little things that I can go, oh, okay. Now it's not just I have a utility belt. I'm not Batman and that I just pull out something and it
No, you've already
works.
said
I
it.
actually have to jump through hoops to do it. But the hoops are like a small little puzzle. And I think I'm really enjoying that part. It's
Yeah.
like, okay. Yeah. If I do this and then do that, I'm gonna be able to like overcome like that challenge of that monster or that situation.
I am
And I
finding
think
that.
I'm finding I'm really enjoying that. I'm getting all these kind of really like mini puzzle payoffs as I
Mm.
play through every couple of turns. So I think that's been pretty cool.
That's why it's like not out of the norm to ask you crazy questions during a game and be like, hey, can you pull that? And you're like, yeah, actually. And I'm like, yeah, see, I knew it. In your utility belt of things that you can do. It never hurts to ask, right? Now you're on 2 health. Can you heal yourself? That's probably like, yeah, I think from what I've seen with it, number one, you're having a great time with it. It's definitely scratching a lot of itches that I think you've been missing from just characters in the past. Not that there's anything wrong with the characters. It's just there's a certain way that your brain gets tickled that I think is now getting tickled, which is a good thing. But I think one of the biggest weaknesses it has is when it has like 2 health, it complains a lot and it has very little, like it just avoids combat and it's not as impactful than when it has more than that. That's just what I've seen.
Yeah, I think with the level 4 card that I picked up and some a potential cursed like amulet thing and another healing card that I've got that's a big burn, I might be able to mitigate that. The thing is, I'm not tanky. There's a couple of cards I've got that give shields, but I don't really play them that often for the shields. So I can probably get my health back up a bit if it drops, but I can't continuously do it. So it's not like Mark is just going to yo-yo his health, right? He can just keep playing those combos and get his health back up. The Beetle, I could just stand there and just tank all day.
Mm.
I don't have any defensive items
Well,
at all.
that was a
Other
big
than
part of the Beetle. I mean, you had them in the cards, but you also had the plate mail and the blade mail, whatever, and a heater shield and a bunch of items that was doing that as well. Something that you're probably not going to invest in so much with this character.
No, and I mean I probably could, right? Because if you get the big shield that does the 2 block, it's a hand item. So there is a world where you could grab that, and that might be an option. Like I got the AMD perk coming up where I can get a third hand item. So maybe I could grab one of those and give myself 2 shields that is
That's
refreshable.
gross.
So yeah, but the thing is, like, it would be playing the character
Mm.
in a way that I've played multiple characters, and so what I'm enjoying about this is I'm doing a bunch of stuff that I don't normally do, and it's looking and going like, how do I maximize my damage here?
Mm.
How do I try to do all those things and pump out as much as I can? And I'm really enjoying that because like I know this sounds really simple, but it's like not usually a play style. If I think about all of the characters that I played, it's not usually what my focus was
Mm. That's fair.
for most of them. And I think, yeah, so yeah.
So you'd make a good bruiser in second edition is what I'm hearing.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have played it, but I mean, in first in Gloomhaven 1. So
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned Mark just before. We'll touch on the ice media now that we've seen it, I think, for the second time. Its self-sustain is really good. Its ability, he's building it a little bit on the tanky side with some tanky items, a little bit of shield here and there, but its ability to get its health back up relatively quickly is very impressive. And it almost makes me think that it doesn't ever need heals when I see that. So, yeah. But the wound condition and the chill, I think the chill's the next going to be the next puzzle for Mark because he does chill himself and it's very easy to forget that it's there. And when it comes to planning your turn and planning your movement and all of that, being told obviously, halfway through a turn that you can't do that because of these reasons, that sucks. There's nothing worse. So I think that that's going to be the next challenge, is just remembering that part of its kit. Because I think that, yeah, I think that's going to, it's something that it's a new condition for us to wrap our heads around.
Yeah.
And that would be the same situation for all of us with that.
I think what I've been impressed with Mark playing it so far is, yeah, 100% he picked up a couple of the combos and he's done really well with them after just 2 sessions, which has been awesome. And they're not, I mean, I won't say they're hard combos, but they're not easy either, right? Like they're not, it's not a case of like one says heal 5, and the on the top and the bottom says move 3, heal 5, and you go, oh, these will be really good when I'm low health. Like his chain helm, it wasn't a hard combo to heal himself for heaps, right? You just played the cards that say have heaps of health back.
Yeah.
But he's figured that out, and I think it was really cool seeing that and optimizing through that. But what I've been really impressed with, probably more from the second scenario, is he picked up a card, I think at level 3, or 2 or 3, that oh no, it was his milestone card, where the top has, you can spend fire and you can spend ice, and they do separate things. And juggling elements is tricky, right? Like in any class, it's usually tricky because you have to sequence and then play suboptimally, because it's not like, oh, I get to move into position and generate the element that I definitely want for next turn. It doesn't always work that way. But he's been doing an amazing job of having all of the elements up when he wants to, and really making use of them. Like he seems to be pumping out that card particularly. He used a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure it uses them, does a bunch of damage, and then regenerates them. So that kind of fuels him to do that more stuff with those. So yeah, he's not. Again, very very impressed that he's been able to just make the elements work for him.
And I'm running around with a mana pile, which I'll use if he needs it. You're making fire that you don't use, so it's just,
and leaf, where he's like, oh, are you can I turn this leaf into something? Are you going to use it? I'm like, I literally didn't even know it was there. Like,
it's awesome. It's very good to see. All right, are you ready to have a look at some rulebook stuff?
Yeah, let's do this. Let's learn some rules.
All right.
I'm predicting. No, I'm not going to predict. I'm going to say that I reckon there will be something we read in here that will be like, ooh, that's pretty cool. And someone's going to be like, that's been a rule since Gloomhaven 1. Or
that's a good point.
Frosthaven.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be...
then that's unfortunate, okay? Go back and listen to the first 115. If you're not new here, you would know that we're a bit hit and miss with what we know. And
we're mostly hit.
Mostly hit. Hits and shits.
Yeah.
We're mostly on the hit side.
If we get a rule wrong, though, we do very consistently fuck it up in favor of the game, not us. We definitely make things harder for ourselves.
Oh, totally.
And not on purpose, by accident.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just, we just lean into that automatically without even realizing. It's our passive ability. True. It feels better to do it harder.
Yeah. The Cthulhu rules, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Cthulhu always does it harder.
Feels better to do it harder, guys.
It does.
All right. So the first thing I'm noticing is that, what have I got? Oh, okay. Let me just read this thing that I got here. All right. So scanning the rule book, just going to go through it slowly, guys. And nearly everything I'm seeing is what I expected and things we know. What? Lol. I only wrote that like an hour ago. Anyway, these are from the rule book that I'm going to be reading. So if you consider anything in the rule book as a spoiler, we will see you next week.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Spoiler warning. Yep.
I've been Daddy. I've been joining in my guess. Something. It's all on the wrist. No. Okay. So let's go through some of this.
Are you just going to randomly flick through the rule book?
No, I've got some notes here.
Okay. So you've already read it.
No, I scanned it. I said scanned.
Okay.
Because actually, unlike Frosthaven, right? Frosthaven had the rulebook was written out in such a way that it had blue text, blue font for anything that was new. So this has nothing. It's just like a vanilla rulebook, because it's not like if you've come from Frosthaven, which came from 1.0, then these are the changes. No, it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Here's the rule book.
Yeah, you can't. That just gets too many layers, right? Like
Yeah.
you'd have blue boxes there, and then you'd have like red boxes, and then be like,
Yes.
so yeah, yeah. Where are you on your Haven journey? Yeah,
Yes. Actually, dwarf, mate. I don't know if you listen still, but that's a good thing. You could literally have a document for with a flowchart of if you played this and into draws, into frost. These are the rules that you can learn, right? And people can just use that as a reference. He's good at writing
that's
those
it.
kind of things. All right, right at the beginning, starting classes. I'm just going to read the quick thing of what they are, just for a refresher for you, because we do need to unbox these at some stage. So,
The
Bruiser,
classes.
yeah. So
Yeah,
Bruiser
okay.
was renamed Bruiser. Do we have any idea why? Did they just think the brute doesn't sound cool?
Sure. I don't know.
All
Why
right.
not?
Low
Yeah.
complexity,
Mm-hmm.
straightforward frontline attacker who can protect themselves and push enemies around. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. Sounds. Yeah.
No, it rings a bell a little
Sounds
bit.
like. Yep.
Silent knife, opportunistic attacker with great movement who values proper positioning. I think Phil. It's been suggested that
Wait.
Phil take what?
Is that the scoundrel?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. They changed the name of it.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think those two got renamed.
Oh, how come?
I asked you that, and you said, "Yeah, I don't know." I asked you why the brute is now the Bruiser.
Well, why is the scoundrel now the silent knife?
Because it didn't want to feel left out when the brute changed its name to Bruiser.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a Christmas Carol now.
Silent knife.
Yeah. Like I'm sure there is a Christmas horror movie named Silent Knife.
Fact check. If someone could find that for
Like,
us, that'll be great.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right, we got Tinkerer, which is now this is probably the one that's had the biggest rework, from what I understand.
From what I hear. Yeah, yeah.
It's a healer. It says healer and jack of all trades with great stamina, damage, and support abilities. I think I want to play that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Sounds exactly
Oh,
right up my alley. Spellweaver, medium complexity, master of fire and ice magic, who burns through abilities quickly, but can get them back.
what was the complexity on the Tinkerer?
Low.
Okay. All right.
So 3 low. Spellweaver medium, Cragheart medium, chaotic force of nature, who can manipulate obstacles to damage both friend and foe. Sorry, that was your starting character in all of Gloomhaven. Fair to say.
Yeah, yeah. OG Gloomhaven. Yep, yep.
And then Mind Thief, high complexity, attacks from the shadows with psychic augments and swarms of rats. All right, one thing that was brand new that I'd noticed was there's a bit on setting up a scenario, and they've got an entry here. It's things like, here's a scenario page, right? And it's got here the scenario name and number, and the grid on the map of where it's located, and any requirements, blah blah blah. There's always a key, like a legend, a reference key, and it tells you what monsters and what overlay tiles are needed and all of that for setting it up. But there's a section here that I noticed that just said sometimes monsters in the scenario key will have demon, merchant, or military faction icons. Those monsters are only used in that scenario if you have the corresponding city rule global achievement, or if you sided with that faction for that specific scenario. So it's almost like it doesn't have an example here, but it's almost like there's living spirits will only be in here if you sided with this particular faction, or if you. So it's a way of the faction rep, I believe, impacting directly into the scenarios, which is
That's
very
really
cool.
cool. That's very cool. Yeah. Okay. So it kind of customizes your playstyle through the campaign a little bit. Like we did scenario 22 and we had to fight heaps of living spirits, but someone else was like, "Oh, we had to fight heaps of archers." Because yeah, yeah, okay, cool, cool.
So
I like that.
and this is we're just spitballing at the moment. We have no
I
idea
was
how
making
it's
stuff
actually
up.
exactly, but
No.
that could be exactly how it is, or it could just be completely not that. It could be completely
Yeah.
different. But from what I understand, yeah, there's demon, merchant, and military. So I think they are the 3 factions. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, the other thing as well that you mentioned from reading that rule out is that it says if you've unlocked the special rule or sided with them. So it sounds like there is 2 sides of everything, right? Like, because
It says, or if you sided with that faction for that specific scenario. So there could be a situation where a road event may affect it. So on the way to it, it's
yeah,
like, on the next scenario, side with this faction because you helped out the demons whose horse and carriage fell over, or something like that.
yeah. I mean, like, I remember early in Gloomhaven. Hopefully, this isn't spoilers, but like in Gloomhaven 1, 1 OG, there's like, remember there's an early quest where the main person that wants you to go get an orb, and she's like, go to my warehouse and get the orb, or you can go do something else. Like there's like a split. Like it's very, very early on, and you're like basically picking your path, kind of like you do with the Algox quest line and stuff like that in Frosthaven. But I wonder if like this faction thing is going to be allow you to be more of a this is the next scenario, but pick which faction you're siding with in that scenario, and then you're going to get a slightly different version of it. So it's not, it's going to be less feel bads of like, oh, well, we had to create a split path. But in some places, there may just be like, well, you move along, you do that same, you do scenario 5 regardless of where you are, but you're siding with the, I don't know, the demons or the militants or whatever the factions are. And then there'll be different monsters in there because of that, and or potentially a different reward and or outcome, right? So it's like a way of splitting the pathways without actually going like, well, we have to create these completely like other kind of chains that you never get to. Because that's kind of a feel. And look, again, I could be completely wrong, and they didn't do this at all. But one of the feel bads for looking at the Frosthaven kind of campaign sheet of all the scenarios is seeing all the scenarios you didn't do. Now you can, once you finish the campaign, you can go back and do them if you want, but it doesn't feel the same, right? So
Yeah,
like
that's
maybe
a tough one.
Oh, I'm not saying eliminate it completely, but minimize it a little bit, right? Like, you know, instead of, I don't know, even we were talking about it with scenario 2 and 3 in Frosthaven, right? Like you
Yeah.
could make that the same scenario, but just make it different depending on which kind of faction you want to side with
Oh,
for
I
that
see what you
scenario.
mean. Yeah, okay. So it's coming from two different angles. It's kind of because that's what happened in scenario 4. Scenario 4 has two different setups depending on which way you went. So they both equal lead you to that middle room. But yeah, that's a cool way of doing it. I on the actual campaign sheet, you know, you used to seeing the reputation track. So now there's 3 reputation tracks which go from -10 all the way up to 20. And therefore the 3 things, demon, protect, I don't know, guard people, and the birds. And they, from about, I don't know, 9 on each of them, there's a section
Oh,
event.
okay, yep.
And
Yep.
then up to 16 there's a section event. And then 20 there's a section event on all 3, right?
Yep. Okay, cool.
So that's going to be interesting. The part, this is kind of where I was saying with where it locks out parts of the game, is that if you can get all 3 tracks to the top, surely they interact with each other. Where if you're going to grow one, it's going to piss one of the others off. If you
Yeah.
can level all 3 up and then see all of it, that's going to mean that whole decision's impactful, you know, because you're going to get them all anyway. But
Yep.
then if you don't, you're going to miss out on, you know, this is that weird situation of it creates replayability of siding with the demons for your first playthrough and then potentially seeing the rest of the game through, you know, the other things. But if you can, if you're instantly going to know that you're going to unlock everything, then decisions feel weightless.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, yeah, are you going to get enough skill points to level everything up, right? If you are, then your decisions matter less. It's just the order in which you're getting them in. Do they
Yeah.
have negative rep?
Yes.
Oh,
Goes down to, yep.
oh, okay. So it starts at 0, goes up to what, 9, did you
20
say?
goes up to 20 and down to -10.
Okay. Is there a section at the -10 as well?
No.
Oh,
I
okay. That's
know.
a shame.
I know.
That's a shame. So yeah, interesting. But in saying that, like I thought one of the things was annoying with the reputation, I think it's the reputation track in Gloomhaven, was there was a section at the top and a section at the bottom, right? And I'm pretty sure that they unlock classes. I mean, you can get the classes through PQ, so it didn't matter. But I always thought that that was a little bit of a miss, because it's like games like Baldur's Gate, right? Like the early ones, especially, and those type of things, really didn't do a good job of allowing you to play with negative rep. Like in Baldur's Gate 1, if you had negative rep, every time you traveled to any screen, you got waylaid by guards. So if you were like really, really bad, you basically had to fight thousands of more battles than anybody else doing it. So it was cool because you could steal everything, but it sucked because it just bogged you down. And every town you went in, everyone's like, Flaming Fist, I'm going to come and kill you. So like, if you have rewards for being high rep, and then negatives to being low rep, having a reward at the bottom of the low rep one doesn't feel good. So you kind of need to, it needs to be balanced in a way. So it's
I get what you
maybe
mean.
good that they don't have kind of sections at the
Yeah.
negative rep because it probably is bad for it to be down there,
Yeah.
meaning that you would be constantly getting these negative effects, and that kind of makes you feel like, "Oh, I don't want that anymore." So
Yeah. I would be happy, and we don't know, but I would be happy with a push and pull system of, if the reward for having negative rep is with one is increasing the rep with another. And look, there may be a world where that's going to happen. You unlock a thing, and then maybe you'll pull back a little bit, and you'll unlock one of the sections for the other one, and then maybe the next tier. But then that's it. You finish the campaign, and there's still a bunch of unknown. But we'll place mark this spot and come back to this chat in about 2 or 3 years' time, and
we
be
have
like, "What
so
the
many
fuck was
people
that?"
telling us. Well, just I'm sure everyone's going to tell us how wrong we are about everything,
No
which is
one's.
great.
I'm sorry.
Just,
Have you played it? Have you played through the whole campaign?
I'm
Name
sure
name
someone
the
has.
15 best scenarios.
I bet Wynitz has already finished it. Right. So it's been out for like 2 days. So,
I think you get to
and
tomorrow.
he's, but, but no, in that sense, saying that we don't want to know the answer to these things. We are just speculating because it's fun to speculate. Like we will find out when we play through.
Yeah.
So like, don't tell us the answer to all of these things that we're guessing at.
I
'Cause
automatically assume that no one's going to.
I'm just throwing it out there in case anyone's like, oh shit, they want to know. Okay, cool. Here we go. I'll get on and write an essay. So yeah, don't. Yeah,
I'm just having a conversation.
yeah, 100%.
All right. There's a new positive condition that I had no idea was coming. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it
You should
dodge?
see my face when I'm scrolling through here, and I'm like, "What symbol is that?" It's called safeguard. Now,
Ooh.
is this new, or am I going to be told it's not new? I'm pretty sure it's new. It's new to me. Okay, that's important.
It's new to us. That's the most. Yeah.
So it says the next time that the figure would gain one or more negative conditions, prevent one of the conditions, and safeguard is then removed.
Ah, cool.
Players
That's
may
awesome.
choose
It's like
which condition to prevent if there is more than one, including when safeguard is on a monster. Safeguard can prevent a figure from adding a curse card to their deck, but does not prevent a drawn curse card from taking effect.
that's cool.
I didn't
I
think
like
they
that.
could add another. It's like, how many more positive conditions could they add? Like I thought, and now we're flipping over to Crimson Scales for a second. I thought Empower was a stretch, right? That's a bit of a stretch, but they made it work. And it's like, but those simple applied conditions, I mean, this worked.
Yeah, I think like playing Crimson Scales now with Rupture, Chill, Toxic. Toxic's been basically not in the game at all, and we've kind of had our conversations about Chill and how it's like fine, but bit of a pain in the ass. I feel like Rupture is the one that hits the sweet spot for it. Does something that the other things aren't doing. It's another negative effect that interacts in a different way, and it's fine, right? It doesn't seem OP and it doesn't seem useless. So it's going to be kind of weird going into Gloomhaven with less conditions. So it's interesting that there's a new one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so
A new positive condition.
positive, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Called
no,
Unsafeguard.
there's
you
no
would
Bane in
receive-
here.
It doesn't have Bane.
Unless that's a spoiler and it's like later on, but it's not in the rule book, so that's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, no Bane. I was just making up a condition on the spot just then. What if there's a condition that a positive condition, it can go on monsters or it can go on allies, like whoever gives it to who, that on the next, that character's turn, they get +1 to their movement and then it goes off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, there is a space for cool new conditions that aren't too complicated. You can call it move one.
Pretty cool move one, yeah. And a anti-Bane, like a healing Bane would be an interesting one, right? So you put it on a target, and at the end of their next turn, they heal an amount, probably not 10.
Probably not
That's
10.
amount. Not 10. But let's say it's 5. But if they take any damage
It's like
before
brittle.
then, it goes away.
Oh,
They don't
it
take
doesn't.
double damage.
Oh, okay.
No, they don't double their damage, but like they lose it. So it's a case
Yeah.
of like you need to put it on somebody. I mean, it'd probably be too strong in that regards, but like, yeah.
Traits and masteries are back. So they weren't in Gloomhaven, but they were in Frosthaven. So traits become important when it comes to events and keywords in sections and things like that. So it's cool to see them there, and masteries as well. So they've brought that over. That's going to be really fun to see all the masteries for every single character. They always generate a lot of good discussion in Discord and on Reddit around how people got certain character masteries and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully they're not too skewed towards certain builds. I think that's something that we saw in Frosthaven.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully they're. You want them to be difficult. Like I'm all for making them difficult. Not. I think I can say I've completed one mastery, maybe two actually, maybe two,
Really?
just ever. Yeah. So
Wow.
they're not really. I like them. I'm just bad at them.
Yeah. They.
Whereas Mark
Yeah.
is
Yeah. We
completing them
probably.
on his first run on a new character and things like that.
Yeah. We maybe we should table that. We'll have a conversation about masteries. Maybe once we've unboxed all the starters, we can do a chat on masteries because we'll have like 12 of them to discuss, right?
Sure.
So we'll get a good feel for where they're landing. We'll generally know the direction the characters are going a bit by their characters and work out that because I think they're an amazing addition to the game and from Frosthaven. So I'm really glad they came into 2.0. But yes, you're right. There are just some that you go like, this seems like I just have to do nothing. Like I'm bricking my character for a scenario. So
Sorry,
like
everyone
good luck everyone
else,
else.
but I need
Yeah, pretty
this.
much. Yeah.
Inspiration's back. So this is to help with less than 4 players. So it's not something we dealt with, but it always felt bad when we got it as a reward. And I think once you reach a certain amount, once you retire, you can actually immediately, I want to use the word score, but score a second PQ. Draw it and score it immediately to get the unlocks. And this is to help progress the campaign for lower player counts.
Yeah, okay. I suppose it'd be less important in 2.0, right? Because you're not dealing with buildings. Like the whole point of it in Frosthaven that was really important you needed to do it was if you're playing with 2 or 3 people, you're retiring less characters so therefore you're unlocking less buildings less quickly. So you kind of needed to have a catch up mechanism for that.
What this allows you to, because you'll be slower at unlocking characters, but then technically you're doubling with the amount of characters you're unlocking. So the pool of available characters grows faster, which is cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I get how it's going to impact 2.0. It's just probably not as required, but
No.
I'm sure when we get inspiration as a quest reward and we end up with 3 and you need 20 to do anything with, we're going to
Yeah,
be like,
we'll
ooh,
complain.
awesome. Yeah, exactly. Why just may as well give us some accents.
Yep. Morale is back.
Oh, really?
No, it's
Fuck.
not. I made it up. It's not.
Okay.
Enhancements are like in Frosthaven. So the enhancement system being that there were different shapes next to the things as opposed to just a pip. Now, certain conditions can go in some places and not in others. So you're a little bit restricted. I don't know whether or not it's been tweaked from a cost point of view. I doubt it. But in the variant section at the back that I already had a bit of a skim with, they do have temporary conditions, obviously. Enhancements that you can pay less to not have them permanent.
Cool.
Which is cool. And there was one thing on that, actually. There was a section on cross-play, I think, regarding crossover classes, which I thought was interesting. So it's like any unlocked class from another Gloomhaven game can be chosen when creating a new character in Gloomhaven. Conversely, any unlocked class from Gloomhaven can be chosen when creating a new character in another Gloomhaven game. Classes may keep all of their previous enhancements, but doing so may cause imbalance. New character sheets for Forgotten Circles and Jaws of the Line crossover classes, which include traits and other useful additions, are available at cephalofairgames.com/Gloomhaven so that you can bring them into this. This is interesting. Event cards in Gloomhaven fully support crossover classes from Frosthaven, and some events feature crossover outcomes if you are playing a Frosthaven ancestry. So if the name of a Frosthaven ancestry, Algox, Lurker, or Unfettered, appears anywhere in the narrative text of an event card, that card features a crossover outcome. So if you're playing the matching ancestry, you may read the crossover outcome by referencing the bit in the, it says where XX is the event number, either city or road, and event cards that do not feature crossover outcomes are resolved normally, which is really cool.
That's cool. So you can play your OP Gloomhaven 1 character that you've been playing for the last 8 years and enhanced every card to max because you kept playing it, and you can just port that into 2.0.
I think someone asked that. I think I might have been on Reddit. I can't remember. I think someone actually asked, "Can I bring my 1.0 character with all the?" Because I've spent so much money enhancing it. I've spent so much time. Like it means like lots of me, etc.
It's like an MMO character now, right? Like
you're gonna trivialize the game. Like why? But also, it's interesting how people take that kind of ownership over a character, and I think that that's going to be group dependent because I think with us we just see them as having a MOBA background or whatever. It's like, I'm going to pick this character to play, and now it goes back into the pool, and someone else can pick that character. It's like selecting a fighter almost, you know, as opposed to this that hardcore role playing element.
Yeah.
The last thing I really want to quickly say, because we can do this, guys. Permanent death. So with this variant, hardcore. Are we doing hardcore?
No.
Why? When a character drops to 0 hit points, they die instead of becoming exhausted. Characters can still become exhausted if unable to play 2 cards or perform a long rest, but they survive and can still participate in future scenarios, even if the current scenario is lost.
Ah, okay. So then you cannot die, right? Because you just burn all your cards to not take damage, and you exhaust instead. And then you just have to survive till your next turn to not be able to play any cards to exhaust, and then you take off the board.
Well, if you get hit and you don't have a card to burn to negate, you'll die.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what I mean, though. But, like, if you've got 5 cards left, right, and you're like, oh, no, and then you take damage, right, then you can just burn cards until you run out of cards. But that's saying that
you can almost go die in the corner.
That's what I mean, right? Like, it's saying if you exhaust from not being able to play any cards because you don't have enough cards, you don't die. You exhaust, right?
I kind of want to do this.
No.
Like, can you imagine a scenario where we're in there and it's looking grim? It's not a matter of, okay, let's reset. It becomes a whole other thing, and people will love that. Where we're running, okay, run back to the entrance and quickly exhaust. run back.
That's
play
exactly
your burns,
what
play
it
your
would
burns.
be. We're getting booked, right? So burn all of your cards so that
I can't lose my cards fast enough. And it's like, no, Danny, and my character dies. That would be amazing.
If we were doing like a 2-player scenario, a 2-player campaign, then I could probably get behind that for like the lols, but not in a proper 4-player campaign.
I'll keep that in mind. I think if anyone has a second copy of Gloomhaven Second Edition and wants to see Gaz and I do a 2-player hardcore campaign.
All those people out there who haven't even received their first copy are like,
yeah. But when they die, they remove. You fully kill them. The personal quest is shuffled back into the deck. The character's mats are put into the corresponding tuck boxes. Items are returned. The player whose character died must create a new character during the downturn step of the city phase. When a character becomes exhausted, all normal exhaustion effects will occur, except their figure now remains on the map and can be targeted by monster attacks and other abilities. Exhausted characters still cannot act. Oh, okay. Did that just completely kill what I was saying earlier?
Yeah.
When a character becomes exhausted, all normal exhaustion effects still occur, except their figure now remains on the map.
Okay.
And can still be targeted by monster attacks and other abilities. Exhausted characters still cannot act in any way, and they're considered to have initiative 99 for the purpose of focusing.
Interesting. So all of the stuff we just said is incorrect because we didn't read the whole card.
Yeah.
Pretty standard for us. But it does mean that you could still use them. So if you have a move grant 1 adjacent ally, move 3, you can be like, you exhausted guy, move in front of me and take some damage.
Yeah, okay. So that means you couldn't cheese it then and all exhaust. But yeah, okay. So I think it's more you need to win unless you take a loss condition. Like if by round 12 if you haven't killed everything, then you lose.
Yeah. Although I wonder if if everyone has exhausted if the scenario is lost. Because there's scenarios like if you have everybody that's standing there with no cards and exhausted, they are exhausted. I wonder if that becomes a rule, or if a new. Is there more text? Should we make?
No. That's the end of it. Okay, now it goes on to character respecing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm not sure if
Dwarf, is it in the FAQ?
Yeah. Is it in? It better be.
Is hardcore mode in the FAQ?
Yeah, I've got a 6-player game coming up that I want to run hardcore for. So can you please make sure that you cover this? In fact, I've got 7 players, and we've only got 6 starters. So
we really need that second copy, by the way.
Yeah,
we want to make Mega Gloomhaven.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're not doing that.
No,
I feel like as well on that list of things to get rid of, it should also be, and the human that you're playing the game with is also removed from your friends group. Delete their WhatsApp, delete their contacts, block them on Facebook.
Okay, should we do that? Well, it raises the stakes. It makes it interesting from a social experiment point of view. I guarantee someone will watch it until I've been killed out of the game, and then I can't upload anything anymore.
And then we're all coming to your house to play the game that you're not allowed to play in, and we're not allowed to talk to you about it.
Yep.
So yeah, that's fun. You can just commentate.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, we will wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us for episode 116 of A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I guess we will see you all next week. Just quickly on next week, Gaz and I are very kind of hard to coordinate a little bit when it comes to our recording time. So the episodes are going to be just a little all over the place. And because, I don't really use social media and there's no way really to write things down and say, oh, episode's going to be late this week. Just bear with us as we get through these next couple of weeks.
And we definitely will tell everybody before we go on any hiatus that's coming up. We're not just going to just not release an episode one week and just be like, yeah, we told you we were going to go away at some point.
No.
So we will wrap up and be in touch. So yeah, if it's a day or two late, don't stir us.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I've been your host, Eddie. I've been joined again by Gaz.
And remember, when it comes to doing a recap, you're just gonna pump Daddy up a bit, right? Pump him up a bit.